We're excited to kind of show you and talk a little bit about this. How many of you traveled to be here today? From where? Anybody out of the state of Utah? A few of you? I'm guessing Idaho. Where? Montana? Good job. Give it a round of applause for the people that travel from Montana. Awesome. I didn't, but I'm still glad to be here. So today we're going to talk about a lot of things. We only have a little bit of time, so we're going to kind of cruise through some information. Now, I kind of need to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about throughout the title of the presentation is Helping Teens Take Steps Toward Recovery. How many of you work with teens? How many of you have teens? How many of you will have teens someday? That might be all of us. I don't know if anybody fits into it outside of those categories. So we're all very interested in helping these teens. Now we know, and many of you know, this is nothing new, that this is by far the most common addiction among youth today. And many of them don't even know that they're in it. Okay, so this is a massive issue. As a society, you're here because you know this too, that we can no longer sweep this under the rug, that we need to be addressing this, that we have to take action. Okay, so we get that. But now you're here, you're kind of thinking, I'm on board, but what do I do? How can I help? So we're going to talk about that. But before I kind of dive in, you need to know that I am not a therapist. And I don't have a PhD. So why on earth are you going to be listening to me? What do I have? So let me give you a little bit of an idea of how we got to where we are on this issue. So Fight the New Drugs started as an organization. We can get the slides up here. Fight the New Drugs started. This slide, can we go with the slides here? There we go. Fight the New Drugs started back in 2008. And like was mentioned, it was just a few young college kids. And we just kind of realized that this was something that was impacting not only our own lives, but others around us. I had a cousin that went to prison because of an addiction that he had that started when he was 8 years old. And it was kind of a big deal in our family when we recognized that. So we all kind of, from our own pasts, recognized what this was doing. And we kind of thought, well, why isn't anybody talking about this to young people, A? And why isn't anybody talking about it in kind of a public health framework? And so we naively jumped in. We just kind of thought, well, let's do it. And we kind of started this little kind of movement to and our whole mission was to change the conversation. We wanted to change the conversation from dude, check this out, to dude, that's messed up. And that was our whole mission. We wanted to kind of really get a peer-to-peer approach to young kids. And we did that. And we launched, and within a short period of time, we started getting young people from all over rallying behind us, getting involved, kind of raising their fists in the air, saying, let's do this, let's change the conversation, we don't have to stand for this. And they weren't just kind of the really good kids in class. It was all walks of life that were kind of coming around this and kind of supporting this. And it was cool. We kind of thought, wow, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe we're onto something. Maybe young people are a lot more ready and willing to talk about this than we thought they were. Maybe they're a lot more eager for truth than we thought. And the idea that if we talk about it, then it'll induce curiosity, that was just such an outdated opinion because we knew that they were being exposed on a day-to-day basis to things that their parents had no idea even existed. And so we started to see this. And I want to show you a quick video. If I have the time, actually, I'm going to skip this video. This is a video that we produced. I'll show it. We'll just kind of go through. I'll be quick later on. So this is a video that we produced, and it's on our homepage on our homepage of our website. Check it out. Kind of give you an idea of who we are and how we got started. Hopefully you have sound.
When we are born, we are given a world built on the decisions of previous generations. A world created by their choices, some good and some bad. Decisions are constantly made without the knowledge of how they will affect us, our society, and our world. But what if we did know the effects? What if we could make choices now that would someday lead to a better world? Every person has a choice. We choose what we buy, what we wear, what we say, and what we do. These choices contribute to an ever-growing swell that drives the course of society, eventually defining an entire generation. But it all starts with one choice from one person. 2 generations ago, society began making choices that have shaped today's understanding of pornography. In 1948, Dr. Alfred Kinsey published a best-selling book that suggested that all forms of sexual behavior should be normalized and that people should pursue all sexual urges regardless of age. Businessmen capitalized on this new idea and porn magazines hit the newsstands. Many became convinced that it was cool, harmless, and a gentleman's pursuit. Then, in 1993, came the internet. And like a tidal wave, pornography flooded the World Wide Web as a generation became consumed. And now, for the first time in history, hardcore pornography can be accessed from anywhere and at any time. So what does this mean for our generation? Through new innovations in brain technology, psychology, and sociology, we now know the truth about pornography. Porn is like a drug. It can rewire the brain, form addictions, alter views about sex, objectify the human body, fuel the demand for sex slavery, and reshape society as a whole. Pornography is often violent and abusive. A degrading lie that distorts the very meaning of healthy relationships and love. We are the first generation in the history of the world to face the issue of pornography to this intensity and scale. We are also the first generation with a science-based understanding of the harm pornography can do. And with that knowledge, we feel the responsibility to share it with others. We are determined to be the generation who pursues real love and rejects its hollow counterfeit. We will fight this new drug, and we will not rest until the world knows that pornography is harmful.
Thank you. Now, I tell you that because, I show you that video just to kind of give you a context of who we are. Now, in the process of kind of going out there and educating young people, we've done over 350 assemblies throughout the United States and into Canada. We've spoken to over 100,000 young people all over and spoken to thousands of parents. And we're all with the effort to kind of change the conversation and help kids understand that this is harmful to them, not only to themselves, but to their relationships and to our society. So we call that Brain Heart World. Now, because of our outreach, we were getting thousands of emails flooding into our organization saying things like this, saying, please help me. I'm having a huge problem. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid to talk to my parents. Please help me. And this one right here from an individual say, my life has been hijacked by pornography. Please help me get my life back and start a new life. I don't know where else to turn. I have had suicidal thoughts as a result of this. So we were getting these emails, and we were thinking, oh boy, okay, well that's not really, we're the megaphone, we're the kind of activism, we're the, feet on the street, we're the, let's change this, we'll start the movement. But as far as helping these young people, we were like, well, that's not us. So we started looking around and trying to push them toward solutions that they could find. And we were learning a lot more than just that from these individuals. We were learning that there was kind of a progression of challenges. We like to use the word addiction a lot, right? And you've probably heard that a lot today. And when you're talking about young people and even older people, sometimes we overuse that term. There's habits, there's obsessions, there's compulsions, and there's addictions. And you might fall anywhere on that spectrum, and especially when we're talking about young kids, we might fall anywhere on that spectrum. Habits, obsessions, compulsions, and addictions, but addressing those can oftentimes mean addressing them in similar ways. But understanding that not everything that a teen is experiencing is an addiction. What does it look like to have an addiction? How do you know if someone's struggling with this? A lot of parents ask us, like, well, what does it look like? What should I look for? And we've received these emails. This individual says, I've noticed when I look at porn, I'm immediately more angry for nothing. I get a short fuse. I don't enjoy things as much, which means I don't have any real interest in most things. Another individual said, I was not the same person I was before I started using. I became more antisocial, reserved, less approachable, and always felt moody. Another individual says, I was using porn to numb painful feelings of shame and depression, but it also numbed all my good feelings. I eventually started having suicidal thoughts. And so there's a lot of things that we can look for. The challenge is, when it comes to teenagers, a lot of the symptoms of addiction can often also just be, symptoms of being a teenager. Seclusion, not wanting to participate in family activities, and these types of things. So as a parent, you might be a little bit more attuned to kind of some mood swings and some differences, and we'll get into some of that in a second here, but kind of watching out for that. Now, we recognize these things, and so we decided, fine, these kids were struggling. They were coming to us, they were asking for help, and we couldn't push them anywhere. Why do you think that we couldn't push them to any solutions that were available at the time? What were they lacking? Money. They were lacking a credit card. What else were they lacking? Parental consent. So most organizations that exist, great organizations, phenomenal organizations, we're friends with all these organizations. They require money in most cases, and even the free ones still require parental consent. A Mount Everest that these youth were unwilling to climb. We'd go back and forth with them, and we'd say, hey, you really should open up to somebody that can get you the help that you need. And there's here's a list of organizations that you could reach out to, and they're like, no. And we're like, oh, please, but it's really important because blank, 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 blank. No, not going to happen. And so as a society, we were telling those kids to stay in that dark corner until they're older, and their problem was much worse, but they had a credit card, and we can then come talk to us and we'll get you help, right? Well, that wasn't good enough. So after beating our heads on the table for a long time, we finally decided, fine, we'll create our own program. We gathered a team of professionals in neuroscience and psychology and therapy, and we worked for years and put hundreds of thousands of dollars into the development of what we now call the Fortify program. I'm telling you about the Fortify program only as a kind of a foundation upon which we have what we've learned. And so we'll talk about giving teens helping teens take steps toward recovery based off of what we've learned from this program. This program has kind of grown significantly. In just over a year of it being launched and with $0 going to advertising, with no dollars going to advertising, we have nearly 17,000 individuals in the program today. All 50 states are represented and over 100 countries represented in the user base. So the demand, when people ask us, like, well, is there really that big of a problem among young kids today? I mean, is this considered, I know adults struggle with this, but is there really a problem? And I carry this book around with me sometimes. This is a compilation of just a fraction of the essays that young people have written us, and I'm going to leave this up here for individuals that want to come look at this later, of individuals that have written us asking for free access to the Fortify program. And the Fortify program is free to youth. That's how they can get in for free. But we asked them to kind of write a short paragraph as to why they believe they need it. And that is a fraction of those that have written us. And so is there a demand for this audience, for this demographic? Absolutely. We've had individuals as young as 7 years old reach out asking for help. Wrap your brain around that. Not only have they been exposed, which is like blowing some of your minds right now, like, whoa, they've seen it. They've seen it enough to then have a problem with it, to then reach out to an organization online that they searched out and found and said, please, I don't know what to do. We've had 8-year-olds, we've had 9-year-olds, we've had individuals reaching out saying, please help. Now, this is a huge, huge problem. Just like the video said it beforehand, this generation growing up today is dealing with this topic, this issue, this struggle, more than any other generation in the history of the world, period. You guys growing up today, you did not have what they had. You guys who are now already grown up didn't have what they have who are growing up today. You didn't have it. It existed? Of course it did. Was it a problem? Sure, of course it was. Was it like today? Not even close. So why are we talking about it today? Why are we trying to get into public schools? Why are we trying to kind of ruffle the feathers and make this a public discourse? Because if we don't, the tidal wave of harm has not yet reached our shores. It's coming. And we've got to make a change. We've got to do something. And 16,000, nearly 17,000, and as soon as we kind of really actually start to promote this and advertise it, this number is going to drastically increase. But are behind us and saying, yeah, this is something that I struggle with. We're seeing incredible results from the Fortify program. We've seen an 84% reduction in depression symptoms. The individuals that come to us, most are dealing with some level of depression. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But we're seeing an 84% reduction. We're also seeing a 75% reduction in pornography use, and that's not to the end of the program. So we're seeing an even larger drop-off by the time they complete the program. We're also seeing that, we asked them, is this program helping you reach or feel like it's pushing you in a direction of long-lasting freedom? And 95% of users answered yes. So we feel like we're headed in the right direction. And this is kind of the foundation upon which we're learning. And I want to show you a video. This is the video that we have on the homepage, just to give you some foundation as to what this program is. How many of you have heard of the Fortify program before? Yeah, some of you? Great. So this, for those of you who have not heard of it, will kind of illustrate what this program is.
Welcome to the Fortify program. We're glad you're here. Fortify is a web-based program developed by professionals that uses the brain science behind pornography addiction to help you find your path to freedom. Through a series of more than 50 dynamic videos, we'll dive into how and why addiction happens, show you how to break out of the addiction cycle, and explore strategies to get to the root of the problem to achieve long-lasting freedom. All along the way, you'll be developing your own battle strategies, customized to your personal needs and challenges. They'll become your step-by-step guide to regaining control of your life for good. You'll also have access to your very own battle tracker, which will help you visualize your improvements. You see, after receiving thousands of emails from struggling teens, we were determined to create a program that was accessible to young people at no cost. In order to do that, we have also created an adult version of the Fortify program to meet the needs of young adults and not so young adults. Thanks to their sponsorships, we are able to offer the Fortify program for free to anyone 20 years old and younger. It's a win-win. Adults can give back and help a struggling teen go through the program for free while still getting the help that they need. Whether you're a teen or an adult, or someone who works with individuals dealing with this issue, we're glad you're here. Sign up now and let's fight this together.
So that's the Fortify program, and based off of that, we have kind of gathered together what we feel are 8 ways to help teens take steps toward recovery. How many of you right now are an accountability partner for an individual struggling with this problem? Whether you're an ecclesiastical leader in your church, or whether you're a parent or a friend or a spouse, how many of you are kind of an accountability partner to somebody? Many of you, awesome. That's so cool. So we're going to be talking a lot about that, how you can help teens, and all of these things apply to anybody else as well, but how you can help them take steps toward recovery, okay? So let's start with number 1. Number 1 thing is help them be accountable. Help them be accountable. Now, this is huge. Do you know that in the Fortify program, 98% of those entering the program do not have an accountability partner starting off? So 98% of those that are struggling, they're silently struggling. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue. And just to give you an idea, oftentimes we paint a picture of as to who might be struggling with this. And this problem, more than any other problem that I'm aware of, breaks all barriers. We're talking gender. Of our Fortify base, we have about a combined about a 15 to 20% female rate that are struggling with this and looking for the help that they need. It's age. I had a little sixth grade girl in one of my presentations come up to me afterwards and saying, "Thank you so much for what you're doing. I've been struggling with this for a long time." She's a tiny little 6th grade petite innocent girl. And so this is something that's impacting a lot of us, and they're silently suffering. And because of that, we've actually helped many of them. One of the main objectives of the Fortify program is to get them accountable. Okay, so if they are already accountable to you, we'll talk about how to improve the accountability. But if they're not yet accountable, with the Fortify program, we're one of our main objectives with the youth is to get them to a point where they are accountable. And many of them, like I said, it's this Mount Everest. They can't climb it. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to get there. So we help them get there. And over the program, we kind of massage the idea of becoming accountable. Massage the idea of why it's important, how it can be powerful to them, why these individuals, their parents or whatnot, won't shun them or hurt them in many cases that they think that they will. In fact, we've gone so far as to like not only give them a script if they need it, like here's how you can kind of address this and open up to somebody, but we've even gone so far as to actually provide them a video if it comes to that point that they can send to somebody to break the ice and say, start that conversation. Here is a short clip from within that program speaking not to the youth, but to you, the accountability partners, the parents, the bishops, the whatever that you are to those youth. Here's a video from the Fortify program speaking to you to try to break the ice and help you understand what to do.
An emotional reaction rather than a thoughtful response will likely cause more damage in an already sensitive situation. Now that they have come to you for help, what will you do? Well, here are 3 tips to carry out right now. Number 1, breathe, okay? Take a minute. A knee-jerk reaction to this issue can add fuel to the fire of rebellion and shame. It's going to be okay. If you can successfully separate this person you care about from their addiction, you will start to see a clearer path toward helping them. Number 2, listen. Pornography addiction is usually a symptom of a larger problem. Listening to them will allow them to feel understood while at the same time strengthening your relationship. This provides you the time to gather the facts and will help you with your response. Number 3, help. They need you. They need to know that you're on their side and you're willing to fight this thing together. Ask them what they're specifically planning on doing to stop viewing pornography and how you can help to make that happen. Help them be accountable.
So that's a sample of what the Fortify videos look like. There's over 53 videos that the youth go through, kind of a curriculum of sorts, as well as kind of the online tools that they have. But this is a video specifically geared for them to kind of send out to you guys, the accountability partners. And these are great tips. First, breathe. Don't overreact. This is an issue that's they're struggling with it like no other generation. Understand that. Listen and help. Let's move on. Now, a lot of people have used this quote, and I love it. It's the opposite of addiction. It's not sobriety. It's human connection. So this connection, this accountability, if we had to end the presentation in 5 minutes, I would feel okay because accountability is probably one of the most, if not the most important aspect of recovery for somebody that's looking for that. Accountability. In addition to that, here's some quotes from teens that have gone through the program and have become accountable. They say, I feel like I have help where I had no one and had no idea how to go about trying to quit my addiction. I now have people in my corner cheering me on, and that's really encouraging and motivating. Having accountability was for me the step that decided whether this addiction would continue through the rest of my life or end now. I realized that it was the only way out. The next day I talked to my dad, and I felt hope for my recovery. So that's huge. Number 2, let's go on. Help them find hope. And that just kind of like leads us right from the last quote. Help them find hope. Now, if any of you have dealt with any sort of addiction or are dealing with some sort of an addiction today, hope is essential. Am I wrong? Hope is so critical to recovery, and we see that. And you got to help them understand that they are not their addiction. They are not their behaviors, and they are not their past. A good friend of mine, who I think is out here in the audience today, his name is Vinny, he told me this story that stuck with me. He said that, he struggled with a lot of things in his life, a lot of different addictions, and it took over his life, and it kind of destroyed his life for a time. And at a time, he felt like he was his addiction, that his addiction represented who he was deep down. And it was just kind of this dark tunnel of life, and it was a difficult time in his life. He later was kind of sifting through some of his old photos of himself when he was young, and he found this photo, and it hit him like a ton of bricks, and it just reminded him that he was that little boy. He was that innocent little boy. That boy did not have the cravings or those tendencies or behaviors that he later dealt with in life. That boy was innocent. That boy was pure and a good person. And when he reminded himself of that, like, I am not my addiction, that this is who I am deep down, and he could separate himself from his addiction, that changed everything. That changed everything. That helped him understand, okay, wait a second, now I can kind of separate this and look at it and say, okay, how can I address this? And if they're accountable, On top of that, then that's a tag team effort. The individual and their either spouse or their parent or their bishop or their ecclesiastical leader can look at that issue as a separate thing from them, and they can talk about solutions to that. Secondly, help them understand that change is absolutely possible. We now know this. We don't only know this from an encouragement standpoint. We know this scientifically. We know that due to a breakthrough in science called neuroplasticity, we know that the brain can continually change in life depending upon what we feed it. And we know that the brain, just as it can rewire to an unhealthy state, can rewire back to a healthy state with a lot of help and sometimes professional assistance. So help them understand that it is possible, and there are millions of individuals that have gone through that process and succeeded. It's not just lost causes. There are success stories, real ones. And also, obviously, and this is huge, remove shame, guilt, and judgment. The second that comes into your accountability, into your approach as a partner to them, that's the second that they stop trusting you. This second they stop being honest with you and bringing things to you or contacting you in the moment of struggle, because they cannot bear the thought of being judged or shamed. Remove it. Be in their corner. Love them more than anything. Help them. I feel hope. This is another fortifier. He says, I feel hope that I can be free from my addiction. It is as if the sun started shining through the rain clouds for the first time in a decade. Another individual says, I'm clinging to all the hope I can find. He's just looking for anything, and that's so important to any sort of recovery, as you well know. Number 3, help them understand. This is important. This is important to give them context, okay? We often talk at Fight the New Drug, we often talk about the 3 harms of pornography: the brain, the heart, and the world. Okay, so it impacts us on a neurological level. It impacts the brain chemistry. It impacts our relationships, and it impacts our world. And there is science to back that up. When we tell our kids not to do drugs or not to smoke, how do we frame that? How do we talk about that? We say, don't smoke because I said so. No, we say, don't smoke because it's going to kill you. Don't smoke because it's going to lead to lung cancer and a shortened lifespan. Don't smoke because it's not good for your health, right? So we need to start bringing that kind of dialogue into the equation as well. These teens need that. They need the why. Help them understand why pornography is harmful. Why is it something that can take over the life? Help them understand the addiction. Now, I wish we had time to actually go into those, the brain, the heart, the world, and that's what we do with the youth. I don't have that time today, so if you are interested in those harms, go to our website at fightthenewdrug.org, and there are articles and there is information, there are videos that illustrate these harms and help you understand that. So if you want that context so that you can be the authority for that individual, go to our website. But for now, suffice it to say that this is something that they need to understand. Not only help them understand the science to give them context, help them understand the history. The video we saw earlier talked about kind of the history of how it led, how we got here as a society. How kind of like a chain of events, of decisions have led us down this course to be so accepting of this material, and how it hasn't always been that way, and how we've gotten things wrong in the past with other things. A lot of kids today, they'll think if they're pro-pornography, they'll be like, oh, anybody that stands up against porn is outdated, old school, and a prude. They don't get it. They don't get into it. They don't have that context. But you know better because you do. You've seen the world, how it's progressed and kind of evolved to where it is. Help them get that understanding. It kind of gives them a bird's eye view to the issue, and they can say, whoa, 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 so this isn't always how it's been, and this isn't how it should be. Learning the science behind it has really helped me not give up hope. Also, when I do have setbacks, I have more motivation to get back up because they understand what they're going through scientifically. Number 4, help them find reasons to fight. Now, I'm going to show you a video here, another example from the Fortify program, and it's just a piece of the video, but it's going to talk about kind of anchors that we have in our life. Give them reasons to fight. What do they love more than porn? Check it out.
The problem is that pornography hijacks our desires and the very things that motivate us. And because of this, ultimately, your desire to change must be more powerful than your desire for pornography. Let's say that one more time. Your desire to change must be more powerful than your desire for pornography. It may take a while before that desire for freedom is strong enough on a consistent basis to overcome this addiction. In the meantime, you will need an anchor, something to hold you steady through the raging storm. Is there something, anything, that holds your loyalty stronger than porn? One guy we know struggled with pornography addiction for years. In his moment of greatest desperation and desire to change, he shattered his computer monitor with a sledgehammer. In a box with the broken pieces of his computer, he left a note for his wife, simply stating, "I love you more." We're not asking you to sledgehammer your computer. We're simply asking you this. Is there anything you love more? Is there something or someone in your life that you love more than those videos, those images, those messages? What or who is it? It is possible to become so fixed and set on getting away from pornography that we forget or ignore the very things and people in our life that we love more. What if we decide we're not going to ignore them anymore? What if they became anchors for us in this fight? Most anchors fall into one of three different categories: people, passions, or purpose. Let's talk about people first. This refers to those in your life that you feel are threatened by your addiction, such as a girlfriend, boyfriend, a close friend, your family, or even your future family. The guy who smashed his computer realized that his wife was more important to him than his pornography addiction, and therefore his wife was an anchor for him. We talked about passions when we taught you about STAR. These are activities or ideas that make us tick, things that we truly love doing or pursuing. The more we work on our passions, the happier we become. As many of you know, addictions have a funny way of getting in the way of our true passions. That is why passions can act as an anchor for us. They can counteract the power of an urge when we're not willing to give up what we're doing or working on to satisfy our pornography addiction. Purpose is something we all strive to find in our lives. Without it, we feel lost, and the slightest breeze can sway us off course. And some find purpose in the idea that they want to be a good spouse and parent one day. Others want to be a good example for their peers. Many find purpose in their religious beliefs. Whatever your purpose is, know this. Addiction is the enemy to true purpose. They cannot coexist. Identifying your purpose or desired purpose can serve as an anchor for when you compare the temporary gratification you get when using porn to what you feel deep down is your true purpose in life. We recommend that you find at least one anchor in each of these categories: people, passions, and purpose, and write them down. This will serve as a reminder to you when things get tough. So if you want to purge pornography from your life, what will take its place? In the moments when you're bored or lonely or tired or frustrated or anxious, where will you turn besides pornography? If we can't answer these kinds of questions, it's going to be that much harder to really become free. When it gets difficult, remember, this is a real war. And the place where the true battle is happening is your own heart and mind. Once again, it's not enough to just reject pornography. You need something to hold on to, something or someone to anchor you. It's time to take command of your own heart and reassert your deeper desires. It's time to practice loving something or someone else more than pornography.
Now, we all have these passions. We all have these people, and we all have this purpose that we desire. We all have this in our life, and for addicts, it's no different. They have them as well. What are some of the passions? Think about it in your own mind. What are some of the passions, people, and what is the purpose in your life that pull you into a positive direction? And those are the anchors that we need in our lives, and it's no different for the addicts. In fact, it's sometimes even more important. Here's an individual who said that there are sometimes where giving in seems giving in seems really easy, but I am able to look at my life and say that I have bigger and better things going on in my life than porn. Awesome. It's empowering to kind of read these emails that we get from these youth and kind of see where they're at. Fifth thing is help them find patterns. This is a huge thing. If you're helping them overcome addiction, help them find patterns. Here's another video that I'm going to kind of help you understand here from the Fortify program. This one's a little shorter, but I'm going to let it play. And this is kind of walking you through patterns and recognizing those patterns so that you can kind of understand what to do from there. Oh. Let's go back.
How often do you give into your addiction? What is the longest you've been able to go without a setback? What time of day do you normally struggle with the most? What kinds of activities led you to using most often? These are the types of questions that addicts who are serious about recovery often consider. They know exactly when their last several setbacks were and how much time there was between each setback. They can start to see the patterns emerge, such as the time of day or which day of the week they struggle with the most. That is why if you ask a former alcoholic how long it's been since they had their last sip of alcohol, they can often tell you down to the very hour. They know that date as well as their own birthday. One recovering alcoholic told us he doesn't focus on getting to 5 years from now. Instead, he focuses on conquering each day and sometimes each hour. At first, that's what it took, he told us. But now that he has been sober for more than 5 years, he says that it became much easier and that he didn't know he could be so happy. You see, recovering addicts track that information to keep them strong even when they feel vulnerable. Knowing that data about your own addiction is crucial because it will not only help you see patterns in your addiction, but it will also give you motivation as you measure your success.
You know, there's a lot of tools that you can use, and we've had parents and accountability partners kind of like have like a piece of paper that they write on or a calendar that they mark up or some way to kind of start tracking the behaviors. And we have in the Fortify program a tool that we call the Battle Tracker, which is kind of like a calendar and allows them to track their victories and their setbacks. And they can record multiple setbacks in a day. And then it kind of aggregates that information and helps them understand some patterns in a graphical format to help them understand what device is most common, what time of day is most common, what mood they were in that was most common, so that they can start to recognize, okay, you know what, Saturday nights with my smartphone in my bedroom, I better avoid that scenario because apparently that's my most common setback trend. So it's important to help them recognize setbacks. You can do it through an online tool. You can do it through apps. We're actually coming out with a free app of the Battle Tracker specifically that's just in a month or so. But you can do it on a piece of paper or a calendar. It doesn't matter. Just help them find those patterns. What led up to a scenario which they felt they experienced a setback? Was there a common kind of trend that's occurring, whether it's friends, whether it's technology, whether it's access to technology, or whether it's a mood? Sometimes it's like every time I'm bored, my mind goes there. Because oftentimes we use pornography, individuals that they use to escape discomforts of life, boredom, stress, anxiety, a lack of connection, or a lack of love and acceptance. And so they feel these discomforts and they turn to something to kind of get rid of that feeling. And in most cases with young people, because of the easy access, they turn to porn. And so helping them understand kind of what those triggers are leading up to it is very, very powerful in their recovery. Before, I would have a setback and try to forget about it. Now, I track my setbacks and can see the progress I am making. This helped me identify the areas that caused setbacks and showed me where I was vulnerable. I've now isolated where, when, and how things happen, and I'm trying to change it. Awesome. Number 6, help them create a plan, a personal plan, a specific plan for them. Now, how many of you are actively engaged as an accountability partner? You're not just aware of it, but you're actively kind of helping, meeting on a regular basis with an individual that's struggling. Raise your hand if that's you. Okay. So some of these things I hope are kind of like are things that you're doing. Are you helping them set up a plan, a personal plan? Are you guys helping set up a plan for them? And what does that plan consist of and look like for them? Are they dictating or are you telling them what to do, or are they kind of help steering that? Whatever it is, help them develop a plan, okay? And help them develop strategies to kind of address things. You know, what are you going to do when an urge comes your way? What are you going to do when you're home alone? What are you going to do about your environment and the computer in your bedroom or the friends that you hang out? What are you going to do about those things, your surroundings? And they're going to come up with an idea of like, you know what, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and help them stick to that plan. Here's a video that we have in the Fortify program specifically based on their securing their home base and developing that plan. Check it out.
We are human, and sometimes we feel like we can only take a certain amount of temptation before we cave in. And that's why it's crucial to secure your home base, so that it's a source of strength instead of a place of danger and vulnerability. This is another sense of the word fortify, to strengthen and secure a place with reinforcements. When a fortress has a point of weakness, a place where it's easy to attack, new walls are built. For those fighters serious about victory, creating a sanctuary is essential for a successful recovery. By placing your fortress on a hill, gravity will be your comrade as the opponent stumbles up the slope, exhausted before he can reach you. So let's talk about your own home base. Has it been infiltrated by pornography so far? If so, how? Make a list of ways that pornography is accessible in your own home and the different channels through which it has entered in the past. Whether that's cable TV, DVDs, tablets, cell phones, gaming devices, home computers, laptops, books, magazines. By listing them out, you'll have a better sense of what areas of your home need the most fortification. Let's start with TV and movies. Whether it's HBO or standard cable, you can find a lot of programming that can lead you to using pornography. It doesn't have to be hardcore pornography to trigger a release of chemicals in your brain. All it takes is a few seconds of arousing content to set you on the path down into the addiction cycle. Think back to the moments after watching television or watching a certain type of movie when you felt most vulnerable. Can you start to notice specific things that you saw that made you start to entertain the idea of using? What about the internet, porn's favorite playground? This is most likely where the majority of us fall, right? Getting us to stumble across pornography online is where the porn industry focuses most of its energy. And they're pretty good at it, aren't they? Whether it's an endless series of pop-up windows, email spam, relentless advertisements, stealth sites, porn sites with seemingly harmless URLs, or chat rooms, the porn industry knows exactly what they're doing in their efforts to get you hooked. So rather than fall victim to these cunning attempts, we suggest you draw a kind of firewall between you and pornography. If there's a certain news page or website that is almost always a precursor to your using, add it to the filter. Make some hard choices. ESPN instead of Sports Illustrated. NBC instead of HBO. Maybe for you, it's not visiting YouTube for the time being. One person we know wanted to stop her habit of sexualized chatting, so she removed the chatting software from her computer and blocked the sites. If you have a vulnerability to pornography and you spend lots of time wandering the web, before you know it, you're going to get exposed to pornographic material. So, what can you do instead? Well, how about this? When you go online, have a mental list of goals or errands to accomplish in a certain time frame for each. We call this browsing with a purpose. Maybe the list is check Facebook, of course. Check your email. Write a school paper. Check out your favorite band's new music video. And blog about your cat's new sweater vest. Stick to it, then log off. The second you veer off course, you're setting yourself up for a setback. Apply the zero tolerance mindset and stick to that list. Sometimes it requires actually installing software that will filter the internet and keep your computer safe from inappropriate content. True filtering is difficult to achieve without the assistance from someone else in your home to whom you can be accountable. You might have to work with others on keeping the filters bulletproof. It will be best if you can get the help from someone who lives with you in doing this, if you feel comfortable. If not, you can at least secure your own room. If that alone isn't doing the trick, a foolproof tactic would be to disconnect from any media sources that provide a temptation and get rid of the internet for the time being. We know it's kind of hard to believe, but people have been known to survive without it. During this media detox, only allow yourself to access the web if necessary and in public areas, such as the city library or a school computer lab. Realize that the issue of securing your home base is more than the issue of technology. We need to also surround ourselves with pictures, music, and literature that will inspire positive, uplifting thoughts. You have a choice in how safe you want your home environment to be. It would be easy to make a half-hearted effort, but we challenge you to be brutally honest with yourself about your home turf vulnerabilities. Think of this as similar to having a broken door at home, knowing that not only does someone want to attack you, but also that it has happened before, over and over. How committed are you to fixing that door and installing deadbolts? We may have to be bold in our efforts and rally whatever resources are needed to keep pornography from infiltrating our home if we really want to have a safe haven. Are you willing? How about smaller things? Are you willing to put a filter on your computer? What about moving the computer to another, more public part of the home? Are you willing to get rid of songs or videos, take down pictures, or throw out movies? You can do it. And remember, for fighters serious about victory, securing your home base is not a luxury. It's crucial and possibly the difference between freedom and captivity.
One teen wrote us after kind of implementing some of these things. He says, I really needed and got clear steps and tools, not just warm fuzzies. Another individual says, I feel hope that I can be free from my addiction. It is as if the sun starts shining. We used that one earlier. Now, number 7. Number 7 says, help them identify root contributors. Now, this is an important one. How many of you think that porn addiction is about viewing pornography only? Yeah, right? I mean, this is something that kind of goes way deeper than that. And oftentimes we don't look at that. We don't look at how this is contributing to other things. For instance, past challenges in our life, bad habits, other bad habits, physical health, mental health, lack of purpose, family relationships, overall connection to others, stress and anxiety levels, self-esteem, and big changes in our life can all be contributing to addictive behaviors. And so by just addressing the branches of the issue, we might be missing out on the root causes. We might be missing out on the trunk of the entire issue. So we need to kind of recognize that and make some changes for that and help them make some changes on those fronts. The teen said, it has been very helpful to know that I have to improve certain things in other areas of my life in order to strike back at pornography. As I began to understand the roots of my vulnerability, I was able to get a closer look at them and make changes. Not only did that help me escape addiction, but it also improved my quality of life. Last one, this one says, this has been the single most important factor for me. It has helped me realize that I need to create an awesome life, not just try to avoid pornography. So it's not just about the don'ts, it's also about the do's. What do we need to do, not just not do? And the final one in the list of 8 things to help teens take steps to recovery is help them rise and rise again. Okay? You need to understand that setbacks, they happen. Okay, and a lot of individuals going through recovery, they think, okay, this is a problem. I don't want this anymore. I don't want this in my life, and therefore I'm going to white knuckle this. I'm going to get through this, and they do well for a little while, and then all of a sudden they have a setback. They have a weak moment. They kind of feel they're tired, they're bored or something, and they have that trigger, and they have a setback, and they think, well, all is lost, and they have to start from ground zero, start all over. Is that true? No, they don't have to start over. Much of our recovery is kind of a ladder. We build upon it. And just because we have a setback doesn't mean that we're starting from scratch. And they need to understand that. As their accountability partner, help them understand that this is a journey. Setbacks will likely happen. And that's okay because we're going to beat this together. Okay? I still have occasional setbacks, but it's easier for me to bounce back and keep moving forward. I'm doing great. I just had 2 month-long streak of victories. Unfortunately, it ended the other day, but as opposed to focusing on that like I used to, I talked to one of my accountability partners, and I'm in a good place and ready to surpass my previous streak. Awesome. I mean, think about what kind of a different attitude that was for that individual than prior. Before they had an accountability partner, they would have that setback and just go into this spiral of depression, right? But now they feel they have that strength and it's not starting over. It's awesome. If necessary, as their accountability partner, how many of you are professionals, like therapists and whatnot? Awesome. So many of you are not, right? Many of us are not professionals. And so how do we know when they need to get professional help? Because we can help them along the way. We can help them be accountable. We can help them get hope. We can help them understand. We can help them create plans and see patterns. We can help them understand the root contributors. But at some point, it leaves our jurisdiction, right? It leaves our capacity to help them. Even as ecclesiastical leaders, there's a lot of things that it goes beyond. So how do we know? Well, here's a few things that we can look at. If they experience severe depression, if they physically harm themselves, if they struggle with extreme anxiety, if they experience extreme mood swings, and of course, if they express suicidal thoughts. And this isn't the only list. There are other things. But if these things are the case, make sure that you are the person to kind of help guide that professional, that seek for professional help, that outreach to those individuals that are prepared to help. Now, if we kind of look back at this and kind of look at what this is, and then we'll kind of talk as a group about this. We look at 8 ways to help teens. Number 1 is help them be accountable. Number 2 is help them find hope. Number 3, help them understand. Number 4, help them find reasons to fight. 5, help them find patterns. 6, help them create a plan. 7, help them identify root contributors. And 8, help them rise and rise again. If we can do those as accountability partners, as individuals helping teens overcome pornography, if we can do those 8 things, we are on a much better path to helping them. If we can help them do those things, they are going to be in a much better place and find that help. Now, I want to kind of dive into some questions and about any one of those things. In fact, I'll go back to the slide just so we have it. Is there any questions about any one of these things that you want to explore and want to kind of dig deeper with? Anybody? Yes, right here. Okay, so great question. So do we go to schools and talk about this? No. We go to schools. So yes, we go to schools. We go to a lot of schools. We go to hundreds of schools, and we talk about the impacts of pornography on the brain, the heart, and the world. We don't talk about recovery, but at the end of the program, we do kind of say, hey, if anybody is struggling, go to fortifyprogram.org for free help. So this is what I've talked to you guys today about isn't what we go to the youth with. Because what I came to you guys with is just kind of like what we're learning from the Fortify program and how that can apply to you guys as you are accountability partners. But yes, we do go into a lot of schools on the Fight the New Drug brand specifically. Yeah. Are you in high school or are you a teacher? Okay, because I was going to say, you have a beard. This is like, it's making me feel... So you're a high school teacher and you're saying, how do you get us? Okay, so if anybody's interested in having Fight the New Drug come out to their school, you can go down to our booth downstairs, go to our booth, and then we have a little packet that you can take to administrators, and then we can kind of give you the tools that you would need to get approval on a school level and an administration level so that we can kind of come and we can schedule that out. Again, we go to schools all the time, and we've been inside of the state of Utah alone. We've done probably over 100, and we have different school districts that have approved us statewide. So we have a lot of testimonials that they can lean on to kind of get an idea of like if they're worried or concerned. Because I think where's Matt Zollinger? Matt, where's Matt? Matt, stand up. Matt Zollinger, this guy right here, a good friend of mine, he is, I lovingly call him the founder of our assembly program because he took a gamble on us. We had not done a single presentation ever in a school setting, especially public school setting, and he contacted us and said, hey, we'd like you to do a school assembly in our school, and we said, we've never done it. He's like, I know, it's totally risky, right? I mean, like, you think how bad that could go, right? Kids coming in to talk about the impacts of pornography with other kids. I mean, the liability is massive. And Matt said, I don't care, we're going to do it. And thanks to him, because of him, we were able to leverage that experience and we've done hundreds because of that man. So let's give Matt a round of applause. Love that guy. So yeah, if you're in a school, just kind of contact us and we can kind of make that happen. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. So if there are no other questions right here, is that a hand? Oh, I don't see it. Oh, right there. Yes. It does cost money. We were able to get a grant from Zion's Bank, and so we were able to kind of reduce that cost significantly. So it does cost money, but depending on where the school is, we're able to do it for a huge discounted rate. Yes. Yes, right here. What the stats are of kids that haven't yet opened up to their parents across the board. Well, as far as like across the board, I don't have any stats on that. But of course, we saw earlier that 98% of those that do come in contact with us, over 17,000, have not opened up to a parent or anybody else yet. So it's a big issue. A lot of parents like to say, well, not my kids. And statistically speaking, as far as exposure, we're saying absolutely your kids, absolutely. Whether they develop an issue with it or a problem with it, that's another story. But being exposed is for sure going to happen. Yeah. So that's a good question. So parental consent for an online program. So we cannot accept anybody younger than 13 years of age into the program because of HIPAA and COPA compliancy. However, with written consent from parents, we can. So we do have individuals younger than 13 in the program with their parents' involvement. But as soon as they turn 13, just like they can get a Facebook account, we can let them into the program because it's not treatment. It's a step toward recovery. It's a self-help guided program, so they can get into the program and start that process. And we did a survey with those that leave the program. This is interesting. We did a survey with those that actually end up leaving the program before they finish the curriculum. And we were like, oh, well, these people are leaving. What are they going? We actually did a survey with them, and we found that the vast majority of them, and I'm forgetting the exact amount, but the vast majority were actually leaving the program to go get professional help, which was a huge win for us. We were just like, okay, that's great. But that's the whole reason we exist, is to bridge that gap. If they were leaving for other reasons, we'd be a little sad, but that was a good reason to leave. Any other questions? Yeah, right here. As far as like kind of the anchors you're saying with, help the reasons to fight. Mostly, actually there would be something that's come up in the surveys. Most of them is for their future life. Most of them are like they're worried about their future relationships, their wife and their family that they will have. They're worried that that's going to impact if they don't take care of it right then. If it's going to impact what they want later on in life, and that's what we've seen kind of consistently with a lot of the reports and a lot of the surveys that we've done is that they keep on saying like, if I don't get rid of this now, it's going to ruin my marriage or relationship later on, which is interesting. I wouldn't have expected that to be a common response because it's so not immediate, but it is a motivation for sure for these young kids. Any other questions? Okay, right here. Yeah, I didn't talk about that. Great question. There is an accountability partner feature to the program itself. So the individuals, the users can go in and sign up an accountability partner, which could be yourself, and then you would get a weekly email with their battle tracker history, so like kind of how they're doing on a day-to-day basis with the details of the setbacks, as well as their progress through the program. So you will be able to see like how far they've progressed and what badges they've earned and what kind of coins they've earned. We've kind of gamified the program. And you can kind of see that. As far as kind of going through the program with them on the curriculum level, we do have the ability to kind of get you in and allow you to see it. But alongside them, if you want to be like physically with them, then you just like log into to their account. But to kind of go along and see what they're learning, we can get that to the accountability partners as well. Great question. Any other questions about Fortify or Fight Them Drug or anything? Yeah, back here, and then we'll come up here. Somebody that doesn't have a problem. Well, there's a lot of different individuals that kind of have a lot of different preferences when it comes to that. Some people really enjoy the kind of that having an accountability partner that has gone through what they've gone through, so that they can they understand them and they know what they're going through. And so through the program, we're implementing things like peer-to-peer accountability and things like the social support systems that we're building into the program. But as far as an ideal accountability partner, we really promote the idea of just a trusted adult, an individual that's going to kind of fight for them, that understands the harms of pornography and is in their corner, someone that loves them, someone that's going to be there long term and not kind of come and go. So we definitely subscribe to the idea that it can be somebody that's close to them, and sometimes that's the most safe accountability partner as far as opening up. But having a third party outside of that system is also very powerful, and it really depends on kind of their interests and needs. Yes? By the end of the program, it was looking like, I think the latest statistic was in the 60 to 70% range. We'll have an accountability partner by the end. So not all. We're trying to work on that number, getting it higher. However, many of them are still in their early stages of kind of finding that. So we're warming up that plate, and we'll do another survey to see if that number increases. But the recent one we saw was in between 60 and 70%. Vinny.
I'm Vinny. I'm an addict. Hi, Vinny.
Welcome, Vinny. Hi.
These meetings sometimes get really heavy. They get overwhelming sometimes, especially if you've been an addict, and you take a deep breath, and it's just, pornography. I just wanted to lighten it up a little bit. There's some women whispering behind me that are saying, how old are you, and are you married?
Next question? Is that your question for us?
No, I do have another question. Are you able to talk, Clay, a little bit about, not from an advertising standpoint, but Fortify? I know you said you're in 100 countries. I work with a student in Tehran, Iran. I'm the first person that's ever heard his, we'll call it confession, his struggle with pornography. He can be put to death. Does Fortify have a way to sort of address, I want to say, sort of cultural, religious implications around the world as they relate to the issue of pornography and even masturbation? So
does it kind of have a broad sweep approach? Yes, absolutely. So a couple of things. One is that we've developed the curriculum and program with the team of professionals that I referenced earlier in a way that could apply to any set of religious foundation and backgrounds and cultures. And so right now, obviously, over 100 countries are represented in the user base today. For that reason alone, we have actually we've been contacted from countries all around the world wanting to kind of like translate and franchise the program into their languages and countries. And right now we're launching it into Portuguese in a few months, and in Hebrew. I know that's random, but in Hebrew in a few months. And those are countries that have reached out wanting to, and the translations are all done, and we're moving forward with that. We've got Spanish, French, German, and several others in the dock waiting, and organizations that are waiting to translate the program to reach it out. So the program as is applicable to any sort of backgrounds and beliefs, and it applies. You might be thinking, well, then that might not be as personal to my own, but a large percentage of individuals in the program subscribe to a belief system that many Utahns subscribe to, and many are reporting that it kind of rejuvenates and fuels and kind of sustains that belief system. So again, it's not speaking to a specific congregation. It's broad enough that it can apply to all. Is that your question? Yes. Yes, in the back, right here. Oh, let's go right here, and then we'll go in the back. Sorry. Let's go right here, and then this will be the last one, and then we'll kind of, if anyone wants to talk up, we can chat afterwards. Right here. Great question. I'll answer the second one first, and then. So the second question was, how quick are we to respond to these youth? Because they still have to apply, they have to fill out the essay. How quick are we? We're less than 24 hours before they apply to the program, and then we allow them into the program. And so they have access within that short period of time. As far as helping out on a broader level, I want to do something, you can contact us at info@fightthenewdrug.org. If you're interested in kind of spreading the movement and the message and the harms of pornography and change the conversation on a social level, contact us at info@fightthenewdrug.org, and we can get you kind of help. You can purchase the Street Team kit and push it into your communities or campuses and start changing the conversation. You can join us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and take the messages that we're posting on a daily basis and spread that out to your networks. And then you can get involved in a deeper level by contacting us, and we can get you more involved on a volunteer basis on a physical level with our organization. On pushing Fortify specifically, which is a different ball of wax, we separated Fight the New Drug and Fortify on purpose. We knew that if we made Fight the New Drug and Fortify one thing, that individuals that were on board with Fight the New Drug for the kind of the movement and the cause and kind of the activist side of things that didn't have a problem or weren't struggling, they would be less likely to kind of like continue that. They would stop wearing our Porn Kills Love tees, and they would stop putting on the bands because they would feel a little uncomfortable because Fight the New Drug would all of a sudden become a recovery group. And Fortify, so we created Fortify as a separate brand to kind of make sure that Fortify was for individuals that were struggling, where they can have that ecosystem and that support group, and then Fight the New Drug can be kind of a come one, come all, let's do something. So to help promote and push Fortify, I would say to get it into the hands of individuals that are responsible for young people. So whether that's on a school level, an ecclesiastical level, or whatnot, or just informing individuals that it's an available tool and it's free for youth. I think that's a huge piece, and if more individuals can be aware of that, therapists and religious leaders and parents, the more they will turn to it once it becomes an issue, the more that they will say, okay, this is a problem, I want to use this. Now, many parents have asked us, and I don't know if this is another question that would come up, many parents have asked us, can I use Fortify as a preventative tool? My kid hasn't seen it, or they've seen it once, I better get him in. We wouldn't recommend that. My kid's seen porn twice, he's an addict. No, and so we would say that Fortify was built specifically for individuals that struggle with this, and so it's not a preventative tool. Now, would it harm an individual to go through the program if they weren't struggling? No, of course not. But it's not built for that. It's for individuals that specifically struggle. Again, to help push it, get it into the hands of people that represent and are in charge of a lot of younger people that can make that available to them and push that out. Let's go last question in the back, and then we'll conclude. What are the steps? Say that again. Okay, you go to fortifyprogram.org and you say sign up. And you can say, and you fill out the application for the teen, and you say submit. And then we review the applications all manually, and then we accept all the teens that go through. If they fit the age bracket, and if they at least put in something in the essay piece, we allow them in. They need to feel like they're earning it. If we made it just free, like get in, they wouldn't value the curriculum as much. So instead of asking for $1, we're asking for a paragraph or a sentence, something that indicates this is what I need. And if they do that, we say accept, they get an email, and they're in. So it's really simple. If they have an issue, fortifyprogram.org, sign up today, and they're in. Okay? Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.